Welcome to my another video. There are many motivational, inspirational quotes in Proverbs channel, but how many of them give you the full meaning of the quote in Proverbs? But in my videos you will find explanation of all quotes in Proverbs. The interpretation of Proverbs and quotes have been found through a lot of research and reading many books so that I can inspire you and provide you with the right knowledge, which takes a lot of time and effort. Because I wish that even after I die, I can pass on these famous sayings or interpretations to everyone. Please subscribe my channel to take this initiative of mine one step further. Without further delay, let the video begin. Forgiveness is not an occasional act, it is a constant attitude. Means, this was what Jesus taught his disciples. Jesus had also admonished his followers to love their enemies and pray for them that despitefully used them. This doctrine had fallen upon the ears of many of his hearers like strange music from a foreign land. Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? In this quotes, Dr. King's question of what are you doing for others should be a constant reminder that a spirit of volunteerism is necessary to a successful life and society. To me, King communicated this message not to deride people for failing to serve, but to be a gentle reminder of its importance. You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subject and your verb agree to serve. You only need a heart full of grace, a soul generated by love. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. It means whatever affects one directly, affects all indirectly. Nothing in the world is more dangerous than sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity. Means, King was referring to long-held beliefs and prejudices that had no basis in reality. There is nothing more dangerous than someone who believes something simply because someone else told them it was true. You can breathe underwater. We must accept finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope. The meaning behind the quotes, the power of the idea that we must never lose infinite hope is that despite the inevitable challenges and difficulties we will face as a country, as professionals and as individuals, if we have hope in our hearts for a better future, we will be able to get through tough times on the journey toward it. Never succumb to the temptation of bitterness. The meaning behind the quotes, the traps of bitterness and negative thinking are easy to fall into. But neither provides a benefit, not for you and not for the world at large. Harness your feelings for positive ends, work to create, inspire, and preserve. Darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that. This means that violence does not get rid of violence. That only light can get rid of darkness. I have decided to stick with love. Hate is too great a burden to bear. This quote also says that when you have hate in your heart, it weighs you down, but when you have love in your heart, it frees you and it lets you live. It makes everything peaceful and easier. Love stops the hurting tears but gives joyful ones. Faith is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase. It says that you should take the first step with the faith that the rest of the staircase is there, and that you will be able to get to your destination if you can manage to keep taking step after step. Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. Means, explain that the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to raise voice against it, against injustice. A man dies when he refuses to stand up for that which is right. A man dies when he refuses to stand up for justice. A man dies when he refuses to take a stand for that which is true. One must appreciate the moral of raising voice against any injustice, any wrong, as that is the rightful thing to do. We may have all come on different ships, but we're in the same boat now. This quote means that even though we may be from different places, or be a different race, we all are in the same country now, and we all work together. The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands, in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. This quote says that, here, he says that character, strength, endurance, or whichever way you define, measure are best shown during the toughest moments in life. Change does not roll in on the wheels of inevitability, but comes through continuous struggle. This quote reminds us that change lies in challenging norms, as well as summoning our determination and courage to stand up in the face of adversity and persist in making a difference, big or small. Love is the only force capable of transforming an enemy into friend. This quote says that, I believe that unarmed truth and unconditional love will have the final word in reality. That is why right, temporarily defeated, is stronger than evil triumphant. Let no man pull you so low as to hate him. It means you should not hate someone because they did something bad to you. All people should be treated the same. If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. The message is that we should do what we can do, and not be derailed by what we cannot do. So he says that if you had hoped to fly, but cannot, then run. Running is not as effective as flying, but it can still make a difference. Likewise, if you had hoped to run, but find yourself unable to do so, then walk. Intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education. This quote says that, teaching one to think critically is no small task. Most students learn by constructing knowledge based on an engaged learning process, rather than by absorbing knowledge from passive sources. The function of education is to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. Out of the mountain of despair, a stone of hope. Meaning of this quote is, the detachment of the stone of hope from the mountain of despair symbolizes victory born from disappointment. The time is always right to do what is right. It means that it's never too late to stand up for justice against what you consider is wrong. We must all stand against injustice, and it's never too late to turn around. We've got some difficult days ahead. But it really doesn't matter with me now, because I've been to the mountaintop. I've looked over, and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. Meaning of this quote is, Dr. King is saying that like Moses, he has been to the mountaintop and seen the promised land. A society where black people have peace and equal rights. He knows that he may not get to this promised land with them, because he might die first. True peace is not merely the absence of tension, it is the presence of justice. This text is saying in substance peace is not merely the absence of some negative force, war, tensions, confusion, but it is the presence of some positive force, justice, goodwill, the power of the kingdom of God. There is nothing more tragic than to find an individual bogged down in the length of life, devoid of breadth. It means that we must ensure that the length of our lives does not outstrip the breadth. A lie cannot live. Meaning of this quote is, something which is not true cannot continue to exist. There can be no deep disappointment where there is not deep love. Meaning of this quote is, failure and disappointment are inevitable companions to any worthy effort. In this quote, Dr. Martin Luther invites us to expect disappointment, and despite this, to prevail and persevere in our efforts. We are not makers of history. We are made by history. King is saying that people are shaped by the world around them. We are who we are because of the history we've lived. We don't get to change that. And that kind of makes sense, especially in the context of civil rights. We must build dikes of courage to hold back the flood of fear. It means we must accept finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope. He understood how much being vulnerable hurts, how unnatural it can feel. While he dealt with failure after failure, he understood that vulnerability took true courage. Let us not seek to satisfy our thirst for freedom by drinking from the cup of bitterness and hatred. Here in this quote, he personifies the abstract qualities of freedom, bitterness, and hatred and uses them to represent something we drink of thirst for. King uses this metaphor to teach us that we should not be bitter and have hatred if we want to ultimately achieve freedom. You can kill the dreamer, but you can't kill the dream. This quote represents one's dignity may be assaulted, vandalized, cruelly mocked, but it can never be taken away unless it is surrendered. A right delayed is a right denied. It means that if equitable relief to a party is available, but is not forthcoming in a timely fashion, it is effectively the same as having no remedy at all. Freedom is never voluntarily given by the oppressor, it must be demanded by the oppressed. This quote represents, waiting for an oppressor to grant freedom will never yield results, because they personally benefit from the oppression. Rather, the oppressed must demand their freedom, which at the time Dr. King wrote from Birmingham, was primarily denied via the practice of segregation. People then were told to wait, which ultimately led to no action. The old adage saying justice too long delayed is justice denied continues to be relevant today. We must learn to live together as brothers, or perish together as fools. This quote represents, if we embrace this message, and accept those differences that make us special, we will die a happy people and be at peace. The quality, not the longevity, of one's life is what is important. This means that during your lifetime you can be a lot of things, work in many places with many people, but at the end of the day do you ask yourself, what is the value I'm giving to the world, with everything that I do? A genuine leader is not a searcher for consensus, but a molder of consensus. This quote points to not just the powerful traits of persuasiveness and communication that a leader must have, but also to the importance of teamwork and compromise. Only in the darkness can you see the stars. The perfect quote for those dark times when all seems lost. Dr. King points out that, it's when things seem at their worst that you can find the beacons of light in your world, that can help steer you back on course. But I know, somehow, that only when it is dark enough can you see the stars. This quote has a lot of truth, and meaning to it because humans have to go through the darkness in order to see the beauty in life, like the stars in the night sky. Love is the greatest force in the universe. It is the heartbeat of the moral cosmos. He who loves is a participant in the being of God. Meaning of this quotes, love is gravity, because it makes some people feel attracted to others. Love is power, because it multiplies the best we have, and allows humanity not to be extinguished in their blind selfishness. Love unfolds and reveals. For love we live and die. In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. Means that comments from your enemies may hurt, however, the hurt from friends not standing by and supporting you is forever remembered. I Have a Dream is a public speech that was delivered by American civil rights activist and Baptist minister Martin Luther King Jr. during the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom on August 28, 1963. In the speech, King called for civil and economic rights and an end to racism in the United States. What was the message behind the I Have a Dream speech? Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream speech was a call for equality. It identified the faults of America and what measures were needed to make it a better place. A central theme throughout the speech was the importance of everyone being treated equally. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe the channel, stay motivated, share with your friends and motivate others.